The password was Ava's birthday. Sandra only figured that out because she tried everything else first. Her own name, Ava's middle name, the street they grew up on, the name of the first dog they'd had, spelled wrong and then spelled right. She sat at the kitchen table with the phone in her hands for 40 minutes before the answer turned out to be the obvious one, the one that had been waiting there the whole time. Sandra Mitchell was 54 years old, and she had loved her daughter completely. She'd been sure of that, the way you're sure of things that have never been tested. She was 3 days past the funeral when she unlocked the phone. She told herself she was looking for the contact list. There were people to call, people who hadn't heard yet. She told herself that was why. Stories like this one don't get told enough. Subscribe to the Untold Home. We find the ones that do. To understand what Sandra found, you have to understand what she thought she had. Ava was 26. She'd grown up in the same house where Sandra still lived, driven the same streets, had a handful of friends Sandra knew by name and face. They talked through one bad breakup together on the phone at midnight. Ava had moved into a small apartment 20 minutes away 2 years ago, not too far, still close enough for Sunday dinners. She was a graphic designer. She liked hiking and bad reality television, and a specific brand of green tea she ordered in bulk. She had a public Instagram account that Sandra followed, that Ava posted to maybe once a week. A photo of a trail, a coffee cup, a sunset. Pretty, soft lit, lightly captioned. Nothing that told you much. But Sandra had never thought to look for more. You don't go looking for what you're sure you already have. She tells me everything, Sandra had said more than once, to more than one person. She believed it. She found the condolence messages first. Friends from college, from work, from a hiking group Ava had joined 2 years ago. Sandra didn't recognize all the names, but grief looks the same in any hand, and she read each one slowly and let herself feel the weight of it. Then she opened Instagram. Ava's public account, the one Sandra followed. 312 followers. The same soft photos she'd always seen. She scrolled back through months of them, and it felt like looking at a postcard. Carefully composed, pleasant, showing you a place without ever letting you in. But the app was still logged in, and in the bottom corner of the screen, there was a small circular icon she almost missed. A second account. Same phone, different profile photo, different username. Sandra pressed it without thinking. The way you open a door before you remember you weren't sure you wanted to know what was behind it. Before we get to what Sandra read, if this story is already sitting somewhere in your chest, subscribe to the Untold Home. We post every week. And what happens next is the part that doesn't let go. The second account had 2,300 followers. It had been active for 3 years. The profile photo was Ava, but differently. She was laughing, her head turned slightly, like someone had caught her mid-sentence. It didn't look like a photo taken for a photo. It looked like someone had taken it because she was worth looking at in that exact moment. Sandra scrolled. The posts were dense. They were about things Sandra had never heard Ava mention: the politics of housing in their city, the ethics of a film Sandra had loved, a long thread about something in the news that Ava had opinions about. Sharp opinions, funny ones. She argued with people in the comments, not meanly, but confidently, like someone who had figured out who she was and wasn't apologizing for it. She'd written things Sandra would never have predicted, and the people reading them clearly knew her. Called her by a nickname Sandra didn't recognize, remembered things she'd mentioned months ago, asked about her week. After the accident, after the account went quiet, the comments started to change. "Are you okay? Haven't heard from you. Where'd you go?" They didn't know. Sandra sat with the phone for an hour. Then she went to bed, came back the next night, and read more. 3 weeks in, Sandra found the direct messages. She wasn't looking for anything specific anymore. She was just reading. She'd been reading every night, sometimes for an hour, sometimes longer, learning the version of her daughter that 2,300 strangers had been allowed to know. There was a thread with someone named Kira. It went back 2 years, daily messages, sometimes hourly, the kind of conversation that fills in the texture of a whole life. They talked about everything: work, small joys, the specific quiet misery of a family dinner that didn't go the way you'd hoped. In one message, dated 14 months ago, Kira had asked, "Why don't you post this stuff on your regular account? Your mom follows you there, right?" Ava had written back, "She follows who she thinks I am." I don't know how to explain the gap between those two things without it turning into a whole conversation I'm not ready to have. Sandra read the message, then read it again. She put the phone face down on the table. She sat in the dark kitchen for a long time. Sandra never responded to any of the messages. She never told Kira or any of the others what had happened. She watched the account go quiet as the followers slowly pieced it together. A memorial post from someone who'd found a news article, then the long accumulation of goodbye comments from people who had loved a version of Ava that Sandra was still, night by night, getting to know. She reads the account every week. She goes back to the old posts, the opinionated ones, the funny ones, the threads where Ava argued something nobody expected her to argue. She reads the comments. She tries to imagine what the conversation would have been. She thinks, this is who she was becoming. The gap Ava mentioned. The one between who Sandra thought she was and who she actually was. Sandra thinks about it every day. Not with anger, not anymore. With something slower and more permanent than anger. With the particular weight of understanding something too late to do anything with it. She still follows the account. It's the only place she knows how to find her now. The password was Ava's birthday. Sandra knows why that was the one thing Ava kept simple. Ava had 2,300 people who knew her. Her mother was not one of them. If that stayed with you, subscribe to the Untold Home. Next week, another story that was never supposed to be told.